All right, let me start recording. Okay, so welcome to part 4. I'm so excited. This has been such a great process for me to work through redesigning this whole Sparkle Up series. I've been telling the home office that what I've done with this whole thing, and they're like, well, we've been wanting to redo it anyway. So I'm like, good, because I've got some ideas for you on how to redo this whole thing. So tonight, because we have all this new material to work with that I just love, and I think once we learn to make these things a habit and not just an option, we're going to see results. And that's what hit me this morning hard, was I think I know how to use these tools that we're going to be talking about tonight, but how do I make sure that I use them every single time? How do I talk about them in such a way to my potential and my new consultant so that I am confidently offering this information so that she will want it, right? And that I won't chicken out, and that I won't get lazy, or I won't forget, or I won't get overwhelmed, right? So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. But I want to go backwards first and do two things. First, I want to ask you, did anyone have an interesting sponsoring conversation, or not a good conversation that they want to share from this week? Something that went well, or something that didn't go well with sponsoring? Don't all jump at once.
It's Angela. I'll share.
Sure.
So I was talking about the Spanish literature earlier. Yes. And how that came in handy.
Wow.
So my girl of interest, I know that she's very busy with her family and she's working all the time, which is very taxing on her. So I introduced it, and I actually took her to Shanna's house when Shanna did a training. And she got to meet some of the consultants, and actually one of them was a Spanish speaker. So the two of them really hit it off, and I loved it. So I was thinking how much it could impact her life in, time and finances and reducing stress. Wow. But she's too busy to focus on it. So I keep pinging her, but she's still busy. Right. So I have the mindset that, okay, I've planted the seed. She knows it's there. She knows I'm a resource. She knows that Shanna's a resource.
Good point.
So I'm just going to kind of sit back and wait for her to come to me. I mean, maybe I'll ping in, every couple of weeks just to let her know of successes. She's on my Facebook page, so she'll see of other successes that maybe that I'm having, or that my parties are having. I want it for her so bad, but I have to step back and just let her have her space, and that's difficult.
Because timing is everything. Yeah. I love that. I love your approach, and congratulations on approaching her and inviting her to that, and thinking so highly of her that you wanted for her. I love that. How did you, just out of curiosity, what was the first thing that you said to her about the business? Do you remember? What was the setting, and how did you say it?
I really didn't give her a lot of information. I said, I'm involved in something really great, and I think you will love it. Will you come to a meeting with me?
Wow.
And she said, yes, for you, anything.
Aww.
Because we have a relationship of 3 years.
Did she know it was jewelry?
She knew it was jewelry.
Okay.
And I told her, she has a house cleaning business, actually. That's how we met.
She's busy.
3 years ago. So I know that she's getting older and it's hard on her. So I told her, I said, you have to dress up and you have to fix your hair. And I knew that would be a treat for her, because she's always running around taking care of everyone else.
I love it. That is so sweet. And you gave her a really fun evening at Shanna's house. I love my evenings at Shanna's house. So
And she looked so beautiful. And I went and picked her up because I didn't want to have her meet me because then she can cancel. I was like, nope, I'm going to come get you. You relax. I'll drive.
mm-hmm.
And let's just go have fun and see what's
I love it. So now what you're creating here is what Debbie Pickens and I were talking about, which is a pipeline. And the pipeline is a permanent piece of paper that has the names of people that you've talked to about the business and the timing wasn't quite right, but they're still willing to stay on your list, right? Yep. And the pipeline never grows cold until they say, take me off of your list, right? And it can go for years and years, and it might be 2 years when she's ready. But the cool thing is if you're constantly adding names to your pipeline, you're always going to have people who are suddenly ready, you know, at time. And sometimes they come in 3s and 4s and 5s all of a sudden at once too. It's kind of interesting when you have a pipeline like that. But start your list and put her at the top of it. She sounds like just a great friend of the company already. That's neat. Congratulations. I love it. Anybody else? Anybody else talk to somebody about the business and got shot down, or somebody was curious? Debbie?
Yeah, okay, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Okay, that's okay. I actually, there's this girl, she used to babysit for me when my kids were really small. So we're talking like 20 years ago. Now she's married and has 5 children of her own. Stinking cute. And she's always on Facebook, and it says she sells another jewelry line. It says that she does hair at a salon and does weddings and stuff, I think is what she has told me. And I finally said to her today in a message, I invited her to an event that I'm doing on Wednesday here at my house. She can't come. And I finally said, let me read it to you, because this was, I was nervous. I had been nervous to say this to her. But I said, let me know if I could ever talk to you about Touchstone Crystal. And I gave her one, I said, I'm looking for some solid reps here in this area. You'd be great, and we would have fun if the season ever arose. So what I was trying to do was to make it so that she knew I wasn't trying to push it down her throat, right? And then she said, thanks, I'll keep that in mind. Right now I'm running my wedding business and I work at a salon on weekends, and there's the kids' sports and family. LOL, definitely at my max right now, but I'll take a look at your stuff for sure. I said, girl, you're on overload. So I totally agreed with her. Take a look when you get a moment. If you ever want to streamline the work side, this is at least something to consider. I have busy moms on the team earning a couple $1,000 a month doing parties and helping other women start their businesses. It's fun and easy with a lot of sparkly upside, including trips, which you and your hubby could probably use. And I thought, I got to stop with the thing that would be like the clincher, because nothing that she's doing is going to earn her a trip or recognition. And with 5 kids, I bet she and her husband would love to go away, right? So we'll see what she does with it. You know, so now I have a chance. I'll be able to reach out to her again, maybe in a month or 2. But now she's on my pipeline because I know she's at least a little bit curious. The timing isn't right though. So that's where the pipeline comes into play. We have to make sure that we provide the takeaway, which is the opportunity for them to know that we know this might not be for them. It might not be a good fit, and that's okay. So anybody else have a sponsoring conversation or a little chat this week that you wanted to share before we?
Well, my last party, Betsey, that I did on Saturday, and it was someone that couldn't make it to my function, my launch that I do once a month. But she said, instead of that, I will just do a party for you. So she had 11 girls.
Wow.
11 hosts. But they were all like spending $30, $24, $40. I was like, oh, man, we're not going to get anywhere. Well, I know. It's like, right. You know. They're looking at all the stuff, and then they're spending $24 for the ring, you know. It was still $1,000 party. And so when I told her at the end of the party, you just got $600 of free jewelry. And she's like, you got to be kidding me, because it was like not even 3 hours. So she's like, I work for Premier Jewelry and we never got anything like that. I said, I know, because we're better. And so so she's like so interested to talk to me about more. So I'm pretty sure she's just too interested. So I'm very excited because she's excellent in sales. And I met her through blind design. And I told her, I'm not supposed to like you because you're my competition, but I do.
For your other business.
For my other business. So when this hit off Saturday, and we had so much fun, so I just talked to her now so that she's finishing her order. But I'm pretty sure that she's just got too much interest in this. I'm excited.
That's wonderful. Congratulations. Were you nervous to bring it up at all?
Not a bit. I just had so much fun with it. It's the first time that I did a party without being at all nervous. I just kind of made it funny.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
People love to laugh.
Mm-hmm.
And if you throw a couple little stupid stories and something just cutesy in there, they don't realize that you're skipping little things over. Then I get to my flip chart and get back in the channel.
Right. That's exactly right. Okay. I love it. I can't wait to hear what happens, Helena. That's so fun.
I know. I'm so excited.
I know. Anybody else along those lines? Okay. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about what do we do with them when they say that they're ready to get going, right? Because if we can create a little bit of a system in our minds or a lot of a system in our minds, it's going to make it go a lot easier. So I'm going to show you. Ooh, I know what I was going to show you first. Let me find it. Okay, make sure I've got the PDF pulled up. So what I want to do is share my screen and show you some things. And all of these things are located on the group that we created for January. Okay. So the new consultant training process overview. So remember last week we talked about the sponsoring conversation. Can you all see this?
Yes.
Ask you before I get started. I'm notorious. Okay, so the sponsoring conversation. We find out what appeals to her most. Does she want to know more, or is she ready to get started? Remember we talked last week about when we go to buy a car, are we the one who needs to read the entire manual and read all the specs, or do we just want to get the keys and get going, right? It's one or the other kind of person. We want to offer her the opportunity to learn more, or is she ready to get going? And then we address any concerns or questions that she has. It might not be concerns, it just might be questions. And if she's ready to get started, then we're going to schedule call number 1 to create the action plan within 24 hours. And you can direct her to your website to buy the kit. If she needs more time, then you schedule a follow-up call. And if her answer is no, I'm just really not interested, you invite her to be a host. So it's a little bit of a dichotomy, like there's an A, B, and C. If she's ready to get started, you do this. If she needs more time, you do this. If her answer is no, you do this. Does that make sense? So you've kind of got a game plan in your head of so that you know what your response is going to be, depending on what she says to you in this sponsoring conversation. Again, because it's all about her, right? We're not going to talk her into anything. So any questions or comments about these 3 things that could happen by the time we're kind of done with the conversation? Anything that makes you nervous about any of these? Like if somebody says no, let's say she says, nope, I'm just really not, I don't think I'm interested. What kinds of words would you use? What would you feel comfortable saying? I'll stop sharing. When somebody says no, what would you feel comfortable saying to her?
Well, I think I'd want to know what's holding her back first before I'd ask her to host. Like I'd want to know, okay, like if the timing is, if she's so busy that she doesn't want to sign up, then is she going to be willing to do the party? I don't know. So right. I'd probably want to know more like why she's saying no.
Okay. Okay. And let's say you get to where you're satisfied that it's a no for now. What kinds of things could you say to her at that point?
Well, I actually just had this conversation the other night with my host, and because I asked her about the business, and she's got a ton on her plate, but she said maybe in 6 months. And what I usually say to people if they're not ready to sign up is I just tell them they're on my radar. I said, you're on my radar now, and
that's nice.
You know, that way, like, I just want them to know, like, I'm going to be paying attention, and I'm not going to forget about them.
I like that. So that's the same thing as a pipeline. So basically what you're doing is add them to the pipeline.
Yeah.
If she hadn't said, I think in 6 months, we could come up with a question comfortably that says, how would you feel if I kept you on my list just to keep you posted on any updates or any news for people who might be interested down the road? And because what we're trying to do is give her a chance to say yes to something. Right, so that we can stay engaged with her, right? And then now we're asking permission to keep her on our pipeline. And she might say, you know what, I will never do this. This will never be a good fit for me. I would say, that is perfectly fine. Would you like to just do a party? Then you can get all that jewelry that you wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And then that way she's got a chance to say no, because she's not going to say no 3 times in a row. But, well, she might, because I've had people say no to everything, and that's okay. And then, you know, take me off of the do the unsubscribe on the email. That feels really good. It's happened. Happens to me, happens to everybody. But so, you know, we want to play these scenarios out in our head just a little bit so that we feel comfortable with having a gracious response to each possible situation. Now, there are always going to be, you know, oddities and things, but let's think about it. So let me share the screen again, and we'll go back to this. Share. So we've got this. She's ready to get started because we've already answered all of her questions. She needs more time, so we're going to work through that. And then the answer is no. So we want to create the verbiage that we feel comfortable with. Okay. So let's say she's ready to go. She's buying her kit, and we're setting up this action plan. We want to have the words to say to her. And so we got to get comfortable, and you might want to think about writing this out. This is a little bit of homework for you, is write out a sentence that is the segue between this current conversation and the next one, to explain why this is important. And it might be something like, I'm so glad. Okay, so here's where you buy your kit. Now, let's be strategic about how we're doing this. Do you have 15 or 20 minutes sometime between now and tomorrow when we could get together by phone so that we can create a quick strategy for you to get started successfully? A quick strategy for you to get started successfully. And you want to do this within 24 to 48 hours. I mean, you can do this before she even buys the kit. I'm a little surprised, actually, that it says after buying the kit. I would almost want to do this before she buys the kit. So here's what happens in this call. I'm going to switch over to a different page. Hang on. Okay, call number 1. So again, we reiterate, this is actually the same call that I just did at 8 o'clock. It's exactly what I just did. Except that when you're doing this with a live person as opposed to on a training call, you're going to do this for real. You're going to walk her through these things. And you're going to say, okay, let's go back over this. Why are you deciding to do this? What do you really want from your business in the next month or 2? And if you earned $1,000, let's say in the next 4 weeks, what would you do with the money? Write down some answers for yourself so that you have some focus. Because without focus, when your life starts getting busy again in the next 5 minutes, we're going to want to remember why you're doing this. Okay. So you work with her to work through that. Spend 2 minutes helping her to write that down. Then you're going to pull out a blank calendar for just the next 4 weeks. Okay. So, Susan, what does your calendar look like over the next 7 or 8 days? Is there a night when you could do a party over the next 7 or 8 days or so? And that's when you're going to book her launch party. And you say, okay, great. So those are 2 possible dates. Which one would be better for you to do your launch party? Because it's really smart to just rip off the Band-Aid and just get it done. It doesn't have to be a big deal. The goal is to simply just get it done. So which of those dates would be better for your launch party? Then, okay, let's take a look at the next week. Are there any dates on the next week when you could do a party? And you help her figure out if there's a night or two or a Saturday afternoon or a Sunday late day or whatever. How about during the 3rd week with your calendar? Where in there would you be free to do a party if you could and if you wanted to? How about week 4? And so you help her figure out where her openings are for a party. It's very important to do this before anything else, because if she sees that she does have room in her calendar for doing this business, she's going to relax and embrace the process. If she doesn't think she has proven to herself that there's any space, it's going to be a lot harder. Okay. The who, help her create her contact list. Now, I know this says to use the 100 contacts and counting, but I'm going to stop sharing here right now. And I'm going to show you something that I showed Kay Higby and Liz DiPaolo the other day on a call. And I said, this is what I think we need to have in the Ready, Set, Glam guide. And it's this. It's 5 circles on a page. There's a large line at the top of each circle, and then there are 3 smaller lines within each circle. So we have her draw this out on a page. Ideally, it's going to be in a workbook, right? But at the moment, you can have her create it. So the goal is, okay, listen, so let's think of 5 circles of friends. It might be the gym, it could be church, it could be school, it could be work, it could be your neighborhood, your old neighborhood, your past job, the book club, PTO, whatever those 5 circles are. And at the top of each of the 5 circles, write the name of that circle. So let's sit here and do that for just a minute. Let's think about 5 circles that we're going to focus on. You'll have lots of circles, but let's just think of 5 of them. We're not going to go for broke here. So this is where the 100 contacts and counting list is too overwhelming.
Yep.
It's too distracting. I don't use it for anybody. But this is really simple. It's like a worksheet, right? So have them create a worksheet for themselves. And then I say, okay, within each of those, and I have them do this. And then I say, okay, within each circle, let's brainstorm quickly. Who are the 2 or 3 people within each of those circles who you think would just be a great hostess and would have fun being a hostess? So let's think of who those people would be. Next to each name, jot down a quick note of why you think she'd be a great hostess. Did she just renovate her kitchen? Is she a great cook? Does she love jewelry? Is she a terrific entertainer? Does she always do all the parties? Does she have the biggest circle of friends? What's the reason? And so we're walking her through, hopefully, 15 names. This is the part that takes almost the longest. Okay, so this could take easily 10 minutes to walk her through this, but it's really important because what we're trying to do is give her the calendar openings, who she's going to offer parties to, and then we're going to go on to the last component. Let me go back to that page. I'm going to share screen again. Okay, are you back to this? Are you seeing what I'm seeing, the call number 1?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we did the who, and now we're going to do the what. And we're going to help her with what to say. Now, we can use the verbiage that's in the New Consultant Training Guide and on Glam Central and things like that, but we're going to talk about how she's going to reach out to them and how you structure a really short message, using the words Swarovski, free jewelry, making it personal as to why you thought of her in particular. And the goal is to get her to send out all of them right away, as fast as possible. Set a goal with her about how fast she's going to reach out to all of these people to get these next several parties on the calendar. Okay. And then we say to her, listen, if you get 3 no's in a row, call me next immediately. And no doesn't mean not ever. And silence is not a no. So these are the kinds of things that we want to work with her on. So we want to give her the verbiage. It might be that we even sort of create a text message as we're talking to her and we text it to her, right? To say, okay, use this, but kind of play with it and see what you think, if you like this verbiage, right? And so that way she's got the tools that she needs to get these parties on the calendar without too much trouble. And then we show her what happens if she books 4 more parties in her first 10 days and puts them all into Glam Central. She's got her launch in 4 more. She's going to get this, she'll get the swan necklace. She'll get some Glam Plan rewards. And we show her what she can get in the Glam Plan on level 1, for example. And that helps her. Okay. So that's what we do in that first call with her. So what roadblocks are you feeling inside of you as you're watching all of this? I mean, in theory, you could probably go in theory, that's great, but are there any buts that you're hearing in your own head?
I shouldn't be forced by one denial to get married.
Anything that would stop you from doing this call with a new consultant? Is it all pretty clear? So how long do you think it would take to run through this call?
20 minutes.
Okay. Might, yeah. To have her do the work, it might be 30.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. If you can do it on Zoom, great. If you can do it in person, great. You know, you have to kind of do it as you can, depending on where she is and where you are and how much time you'll have. Okay. So then the next thing, let me share my screen again. So can you see how this would set her up for some success with a good foundation? Okay. So let me set this aside and come back to number 2. All right. So here's party 2. I'll call number 2. So this is 2 days later. Okay. And now we're going to talk to her about her booking progress. How are your bookings coming along? So it's all about the questions. What are you hearing? How are you feeling about reaching out to people? Were you able to get through your contact sheet? How's the inviting going for your launch party? Meanwhile, we would have shown her how to set up the parties and all that stuff in Glam Central. So somewhere in there, we want to show her where those videos are for setting up her first party and that kind of thing. It might be that we're texting her some of those things. And it might be that she's totally stuck on this. And so we have to leave room in this conversation for, here's where you set up your parties. Are you stuck on that? Here's where the videos are. Here's where you can, do a little tutorial on inviting for your launch party. And you might give her some hints now that she's got an invitation list for her launch party. So now we talk about the host coaching and the advantages of host coaching. We talk about, well, what happens when you're going to talk to her about what happens when she only has a couple people at her party versus a lot of people at her party, how that ensures success. So you can share with her what your role is, which is to help her maximize her host rewards for her launch party. And that her role for the launch party is to get as many people there as possible. I do tell them, though, that the launch party is the starting gun to a marathon. And it's not an indicator of success, it's practice, okay? But that it allows her to host coach herself so that she can host coach her other parties well. And so the ultimate goal is to drive party attendance, obviously. But in reality, the ultimate goal is to give her practice. You can tell her that partnering keeps the host engaged, that she's learning how to do that in planning her lunch party, and that when the host has fun, she's going to want more bookings. She's going to talk it up with her friends. And that's going to help you get future bookings and sponsoring and sales. To us, that's obvious. To somebody else who's new, it isn't. And then also to remind her that hosts are her best sponsoring leads, and that with each Glam ambassador that she has joined within her first 3 months, she gets another $500 in free jewelry. And so her hosts could end up being her first set of consultants too. So going back to her launch party, we can say, okay, what are your top 5 things that you want to get from the catalog for your host rewards and from the Glam Plan rewards? And then you're going to talk to her a little bit more about how to invite her guests. You can show her the text messaging that we like to use last minute for the guests to get orders, get people to come in, to come at the last minute, and how staying in touch with the host. So again, we're toggling back and forth between coaching her for her launch, but reminding her that we're teaching her how to coach these other parties that she's booking at the same time. So you're kind of doing 2 things in this segment. And you could even review the host coaching checklist with her to show her some of the key points. We don't want it to go crazy. We just want to keep her on some of the basic points. As she does more and more parties, you can get more detailed, right? And maybe she's a checklist person. She might want to check off the different steps. Okay. And then at the same time, you want to say, okay, one last thing I want to go through is talking about when you do your launch party, let's talk about your 5-part party presentation. There's this 5 elements in the checkout. So pull out your party cards and let's run through this real fast. It's a simple formula. It takes 10 to 15 minutes. The reasons that we do it is because it's going to give you higher sales and future bookings and team members. Be sure to watch that party presentation in the checkout videos, and I'll show you where they are right now. And then if she's already seen them, how did you feel about it all? Of course, she has the party cards because it's in her kit. And then we can ask her if she's had a chance to practice it. Meanwhile, we might go through the different elements of the party cards. Why is each piece important? Why is each of the 5 parts in the order that it's in? Why do you not want to take out any of the parts? And then we talk about checkout or check-in, depending on how you want to express it. And so what we're doing is kind of talking through how the party is going to go. Hopefully, she's been able to shadow you, or maybe she met you at a party where you did all of this. But if not, she can learn all of it. And this is the kind of thing where you can keep checking in with her on some of these different points. We don't want to overwhelm her, but we do want to feel like we're helping her to feel more equipped. And so this call is probably another 30-minute call, right, where we're talking through and showing her some of these things on the either on Zoom or just in her back office in Glam Central. So I know that one covers a lot, but I think if we've been texting with her and saying, okay, let's do another call in about 2 days, and we're going to talk about how are the bookings coming along. And of course, she's texting you in the meantime. I heard from this person, I heard from that person, didn't hear back from this one. And you're trying to speak into her life about all of this. But these calls are the intentional calls, the training calls, as opposed to the quick little text messages, because she's in your back pocket, right? The little where she's sending you screenshots of the response that she got. That is training, but that's more on the job stuff. These calls are intentionally going over certain things with her so that she feels more equipped. Okay? So any thoughts about that? How does that feel for you? This is all new for all of us to do it this way.
It feels very intentional.
Okay. If you were a new consultant, are these the key things that you'd want to know about in the first couple of days after you kind of get some parties on the calendar? Okay. And maybe there's a way to start off with, I have an agenda for us, and we're going to cover this, and this. But what are your burning questions right now? Let me hear what your burning questions are. And if I'm going to cover them in this segment, then I'll hold them. But if there's a burning question that I can answer beforehand, then let's do that. So it could be that she's got something, really spinning her brain, and it's not even going to be able to focus until you cover that. So that's a possibility. You could open it with, do you have any burning questions first before we dive in here and I cover some good training for you? It's tempting to want to do this with a couple of people if you're starting them all at the same time. I mean, that one I don't mind as much, but there is still some feedback that's required that's individual in this call. And that's the hard part, is that then it turns into an hour call if you got 2 people on there. I don't know that it saves a lot of time. Even though some of it is just training, a lot of it is interactive. Okay, so that's the second one. And then let me share my screen and go to the third one and show you what this one looks like. Okay, so this happens the day after the launch party. Now, obviously, these are not the only times that you're connecting with her. You're still texting with her. She's asking you questions, checking in and all that. So this is assuming that you did not go to her launch party, and we're not really necessarily advocating that you go to launch parties. Some people don't even want their sponsor at the launch party. It's kind of funny. Some people are begging you to come, and others don't even want you anywhere near them. But, ideally, they will build confidence faster if they're doing that launch party themselves than if I go and help them book parties and help them find sign consultants, because that's the temptation. Well, I know what I'm doing. Let me go and do this for her. And there are some benefits, but we are really finding in truth that the people who we equip to do their launch parties and they go and do it, they own their business a lot more in their hearts and in their heads than the ones that had their sponsor at the party. It's just very interesting. But anyway, something to consider. That's not in everybody's comfort zone. I understand that. But so here, this is all about the questions. And it's what you're going to do is review the launch party, talk about customer care and follow-up, and then host coaching for the upcoming parties. Okay. So questions like, I would start with, did you have fun? That'd be my first question. Yeah. Did you have fun? And then it might be, what went well? So think about it. Our first question in our brains would be like, how much did you sell? Right? But in reality, the most important question is, did you have fun? What went well? And then what went well? And she'll tell you, well, I did my party presentation, or what went well was address the guest, or what went well is that they all loved it, or whatever, because you want to find out what went well. And then how many parties got booked? Do you have dates? Anybody who's interested in the business? And what were the sales? How many orders did you get? How many guests were there? Remind me how many were invited. Just out of curiosity, looking back, what could you have done differently to get more people to the party? Any thoughts about that for the next time? Any outside orders? How'd you feel about your party presentation? What went well? Were the party cards helpful? What did you do to engage with the guests at the party about the jewelry? What do you want to work on for your next party? What do you think you want to do differently for your next party? So we're not judging anything. We're simply helping her to look at it both emotionally and dispassionately. Emotionally, so that she can be congratulated, and dispassionately, so that she can identify what she wants to repeat at her next party, and what she would like to tweak, right? Because we never want to say, oh, that was awful, you need to change everything. We want to talk about, okay, what would you like to tweak for the next one? A tweak is a really good word because it helps people to feel like, okay, I'm mostly all right. If my sponsor says I'm mostly all right, then I must be mostly all right. And she's just telling me I need to tweak something. Okay, I must be okay, right? So it's important. Have you closed your party in the system? Probably not. I wouldn't think so. She might not even know how to put the orders in at this point. So gosh, your party was $800. So you made $200. What are you going to do with the money? Right? That's awesome. I'm so glad you get to pay for that bill. What about your free jewelry? You're going to get all this. You're going to get X amount in free. Which ones are you going to pick? So we end with the fun again, right? So that she's feeling the high, right? Okay. And then we're going to switch gears, and then we talk about the importance of follow-up and who to follow up with, how to follow up. So we talk about why we do that. We talk about how to do it, that we have to schedule it in, What's the preferred method of communication? What are we going to say, right? What is that looking like? What do we say to people who are curious about the business? How do we broach the business to people? How do we mention about a party? So we're going to talk through these kinds of things anecdotally and ask her if she has any concerns about that. Are you nervous to do this? How do you feel about it? You know, that kind of thing. And then they could do an out-of-the-box call after people get their jewelry because they can track the jewelry deliveries. I think it's super helpful to help her make a list, a shorter list of sort of a pipeline list of who she needs to follow up with about the parties and about the business, and to create that as a habit for her. Again, creating a party pipeline and a business opportunity pipeline it's a great habit to get into. And then, so what questions do you have about following up? Anything in particular that you wonder about with customer service? And then you start talking about the host coaching for upcoming party dates. So again, this is another good 30-minute conversation. But the cool thing is that I think it sets them up for success with the future parties too. And if they know, so here's what's really interesting, is doing this call, at least the first part of it, and the third part of it, so the part about what was the party like last night and host coaching for the future parties, doing this call after every party she does for the first 5 parties, so that she's getting the hang of, okay, I know Angela's going to ask me these questions. How many bookings did I get? Do I have party leads? Do I have consultant leads? So that she starts looking for those things at her party, because she knows that's important. The sales are going to come, right, based on attendance, but she's going to start paying attention to the things that Angela is asking her each time. What's really great though is that if we talk to her after each party, we're able to do the debrief. What went well last night? What were you excited about? Well, last night I didn't do nearly as well in my party presentation. Well, why was that? But I did much better on my check-in afterwards with, when I was getting everybody checked out. Well, why was that? What did you say that was different? So what do you want to tweak for the party next Thursday? What would you like to change up a little bit? Is there anything you want to do differently? Right? So we're helping her to debrief, to process. How did it go? You wind up with really strong consultants if you're able to do that after each party. Because if you get her in a row where she's got no attendance, we have to catch that immediately, because boy, is that discouraging. And that's when they quit. They're like, you know what, this is too much of a headache. But we can get in there and help her figure out what's really going on with those hostesses, that she's having either the cancellations or she's having the zero attendance or low attendance. Those kinds of things will cause a consultant to quit, even if she booked the parties in the first place. But by talking to her right after each party, using this call number 3 or portions of it, we can really get somewhere. So any thoughts about that? Anything you would change in these calls? Anything make you nervous about this? Does it feel too overwhelming?
That's what I was thinking.
What I think would be nice, and maybe I'm just not seeing it or connecting the dots, but like where they would recommend what training to be going through.
Ah, that's a great question. Yeah.
At the same time, because the problem is I feel like when I've done a number of these calls now. Yeah. I feel like by the time I go through all of this, I really haven't checked in to be able to talk to her about what training she has done and if she's been doing the training.
Yeah.
And so,
good point.
Even if it was like a recommended kind of timing or order or something,
I like that.
Like as you're preparing for this, make sure you look at these two or three trainings online or something.
I wonder if that's in the new. They are not doing the 10. I'm looking online right now. They're not doing the 10 calls anymore, or the 10 emails in 10 days anymore. For new consultants, but they're doing, let me see, let me share my screen with you guys so you can see what I'm looking at.
Well, I was just looking through the new consultant, the glam guide, and
yeah,
I still don't see like a connection with the training that's online.
Right.
And I just don't, I mean, I'm not sure, because to me it seems a little disconnected.
Yeah. So we have 3 emails that go out, the welcome email. Let's see what's in there, because it used to be that they were providing links of here's what you do, here's what you focus on. I'm trying to see if I can open this. Oh, come on. Wait, no. So this is the first one that they get. I'm sorry, guys. I'm trying to expand this, and I don't know, my Mac is not cooperating. Oh, here we go. All right. So it says your starter kit is on your way. Watch these stories, Aruba. Okay, so that one's not helpful. All right, let's look at the next one to see what it says. So there's another one. There are 2, 3, and 4. Because I'm wondering if we could be mimicking these lists that are coming through in, let's do it out here. Oh. Here we go. It's so small, it's hard to read. Okay, calendar. Watch this short video to set up your launch party. Make a contact list, ready, set, glam guide, swan necklace. So this stuff is the stuff that we would have done already with her in call number 1. Okay. I'm just curious because they used to give them all of the videos basically in these emails. But anyway, we can look at those, but that's a good point. And Lori, I'm going up to the home office to work with Lynn and Kay and some other senior directors in 2 weeks. That's a really good point. And it's all we're talking about for a day and a half is this, like, how do we help implement this? And I think you're right. I think that would be a great list to have for consultants that we would just have ready to give to them, turnkey. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that. Okay, thank you for that. So here's what I want you to know. For those of you who are not group leaders yet, this is not what you have to be responsible for, but it's what you will participate in with your group leader helping you. But the neat thing is that now that you're clued in to what's new, you and your group leader, you and your leader will be doing these together. You're learning how to do them together. So you're clued in a way that a lot of the leaders aren't even clued in yet on how to do this. We're all just learning this together. So you're ahead of the game if you're learning how to do this, but I don't want you to feel like you have this on your plate, because you don't. It's on your leader, but we're going to want you to participate because now you know how. Okay? Does that help take away some of the overwhelm? Any other thoughts about this? Does this feel like a doable system once you've kind of got your legs under you? Does this seem like a system that you could keep in play? Do you think it'll trail off, like you'll do the first one and then kind of forget about the next 2? That was how I seemed to manage when we had the old calls, because they were really long and really intensive.
Where I'm having the most trouble with the calls is when we go through, like, when the new consultant doesn't get the number of bookings that she wants to get from that list. Right. Like, if you come up with, like, say 15 names, and she's trying to get her party plus 4 more, the likelihood that she's going to get 4 parties out of those 15 names is pretty slim, just based on the statistics, right? Mm-hmm. So helping her to expand is where I'm finding it's a little bit harder, because if they're not getting the bookings they want right away, it can be discouraging.
It is.
Trying to work with them to get them to dig a little bit deeper Yeah.
I also think that a lot of times they don't share with us the responses that they get. And so maybe they hear back from 10 of the 15 eventually, but we only see 3 of the answers. And they assume that the rest were no's, as opposed to them being willing to screenshot every response and send it to us so we can help them. I don't know what to say.
I think that's a good point of asking them to screenshot every response.
I think that needs to be in the training, actually.
I agree. I totally agree with you.
That alone changes everything, and it gives them confidence. I need to start writing these things down for when I go up to the home office, because we're trying to tweak this and make this as success driven as possible. So I'll add that in. But I think there's a lot. You're absolutely right, Lori. If they can't get the parties on the calendar, that's everybody's, struggle, right? That's always our only roadblock. Well, and then there's the host coaching, right?
Well, that's where I'd love to see them give us some tools for how to dig a little bit deeper and not just stay at the surface level, because they assume that it happens for everyone, and truthfully it doesn't.
Right.
And so then as the leader, the potential leader, you're trying to figure out, how do I keep helping this person keep,
parties?
Yeah, get the bookings that they want, because it's all about the bookings.
Yeah. Right. And so there are diagnostics, that we can, there are 4 reasons why people don't book parties. It's they're not reaching out to enough people. They're not reaching out enough times to the same people. They're not using the right verbiage, and they don't know what to do with no, not right now. Those are the 4 key issues. And it's any or all of the 4 that keeps someone from booking their parties. And so maybe we need some kind of an internal training for all of us to diagnose that.
I think so.
All right.
I think so. And I think even if it's like a 1-page cheat sheet, like a script or something, I don't think it has to be a separate call. I just think it's more guidance for the consultant having a conversation with a new sponsor.
Yeah, that's really smart.
So.
Yeah, very smart. I like it. Okay. Thanks for that feedback. That's good. Again, this is all new, and it can still be improved. So this is the stuff that we love to hear. So hopefully this gives you all a peek behind the scenes of what's available to you and what some of the general processes are for sponsoring team members and starting them strong. So let's think about this. Let's wrap up and go back to the beginning real quickly. So we talked about the big picture, what's possible. We identified that it's all about parties on the calendar, and that with parties on the calendar with great attendance, the more you do of those, the more likely it is that you're going to meet people that you can offer the business to. And with that subgroup of people who actually do join, here's how you start them as successfully as possible, right? And so you kind of seen the whole process all the way through of how this goes. And it's basically lather, rinse, repeat, right? Keep doing more parties, keep finding more people, build your business partner pipeline, basically. So that wraps it up. It would be we're going to do this again starting the 3rd Monday in February. We're going to start all over and do this exact same training all over, maybe with a few, tweaks in it too. But, I'm hoping that you will take it to heart that the parties are at the root of all of this. Go back and do that call number 1 for yourself. When can I work? Who can I offer parties to? What's my messaging, right? And what's my why? So do all that for yourself if you're stuck, because that's the very first part of your success right there. So I want to encourage you to do that. So any parting thoughts? Parting ahas? Anything that was that jumps out at you that was most helpful over the last 4 weeks, or most interesting over the last 4 weeks?
I think for me, I just need to get more comfortable, because I listen to you say it and everything you say makes sense. And I look at it and my brain just goes, I don't know where to start. It's like, so I think for me, I just need to get more comfortable with literally following page 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
Because I feel like I lose in some cases with new consultants, oh, I can do the training. Because, you know, we would sit down and go through the new consultant training. Oh, I don't need to do that. Okay. But did you watch the videos? Are you doing the 5?
Right.
You know,
because
so
there is a lot.
There is a little bit of a disconnect in trying to stay on them without being on them.
Right.
Right.
And but here's something to think about. The self-starters will find some of those things. Self-starters, and those things are clues for you about who's going to end up being good.
Right.
And over time, I mean, I kind of have a philosophy that by about week 6, you'll kind of know who's going to be sticking with you for the long haul, or playing more of a role than just a hobbyist, right? Because by the end of week 6, somebody who's going to get it is probably going to show a lot of progress within 6 weeks or so.
Okay.
But those things are clues. If they're asking the questions, if they're digging and finding things on the website, if they say, I found that video and I watched the other 2 alongside of it, you're like, that's score 1 right there. She gets a point, right? As opposed to, I don't know where to find that. That's a lack of curiosity, right? And, you know, and that happens all the time. Yeah, Joanne.
Hi.
Oh, you're muted. I'm trying to unmute. Oh, there you go. Okay. You're good.
You know, that's what I do in my spare time. I mean, I know we all are busy and stuff like that, but I'm actually making the time. I'm putting in the time. You know, I mean, you really sit down, everything is there.
Yeah.
It's just making the time. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. I don't need somebody to hold my hand. You know, Wendy's been available if I have questions and stuff like that, but it's really just sitting down and going through things. And, you know, I love the social hub. I use that all the time. I'm always sending things off to people.
Yeah.
You know? And for me, it's just being consistent, you know, and not like taking, like somebody says, okay, yeah, I'm interested. And then I check with them again. They go, no, I don't really think it's for me. And then what you were saying about being on my radar, you know, so, but I think too, for me, what I'm finding is wearing the jewelry, you know, out shopping is, you know, I'm not just trying to stay in my little circle of friends, so to speak, you know, so, yeah, so it's just doing, you know, it's what you put into it, I believe, you know.
That's really true.
Yeah. And
this is all, and that's all part of helping new consultants get started. You're watching to see what they're doing when they're not talking to you.
Right.
Right. What original thought do they have?
Right.
So you're watching, and it's not that it changes how you train them in the beginning, because they all deserve the same amount, but it definitely is. It's clues, you know, for how they're going to do in the long run. It's kind of interesting. Yeah.
And so just real quick, Ariana just did text me. She said it was very interesting. She's looking to sign up. So I'm going to be following up with her. So.
She's darn cute. That's great.
Yeah, she is. She's a doll.
Darn cute. Great.
That's awesome, Joanne.
So fun.
Thank you.
Good. Any other thoughts? Any other ahas from the 4 weeks that come to mind? And then we'll wrap up. We'll be done.
Betsey, I like the three call theory. You know, not theory, but series. Because I have lost people because they are self-starters, but they're also very stubborn. So they feel I should be able to know this, and then they get frustrated because you can't know everything in your first party.
That's a good point.
You know, so you have to kind of stay on the people and go, no question is a stupid question. And don't close your first party till you talk to me, and I can help walk you through it, because I have had people lose, quote, free jewelry because they left it under 300 or under 600 by $4. So you have to kind of go, whoa, wait a minute, and make sure that they're asking about the 100. Did you want something at 30% off, and so on and so forth. So there's like so much more to it than just what the videos. Watching the videos is awesome.
Yeah.
But I'm here for a reason.
Right.
You know? So you
Right.
have to know that too.
And that it's on the job training. All of this is on the job training. That's why we want them to do several parties right in a row, so they get the on the job training and working alongside of us so we can help them. I'm sorry,
Correct.
Debbie, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say, wouldn't it be to all of our advantage when we get the new consultant, we're sitting down with them, to actually let them know that there's going to be 3 different calls and what would be entailed in those calls, so they would be ready mentally for us, and so we don't overwhelm them.
Yeah.
And getting them actually ready for that, because you just don't want to say, okay, well, I'm going to be calling you, I don't know, what, in 24 hours or 48, and they're not even going to know why. But if you kind of let them know in the very beginning, there's 3, we want you to look at these particular videos, but for me and you to work together, there's going to be 3 separate calls, and they were going to be entailed with this, and this. So
Right.
they actually understand what we're doing, and that might help them.
So they have an overview of what's ahead
Yeah.
coming. Yeah.
Yeah, just kind of give them a little overview and say, this is what's going to happen.
Right. Here's the process. Yeah.
Okay, maybe I missed something somewhere. I don't know.
No, you didn't at all. I think that's great. Again, we have components here, and what we're trying to do is identify amongst all of us, how do we put wheels on this as we're talking to our new consultants so that it all makes sense to them, but not overwhelming them, right?
Right.
Saying, we've got this, we've got your back. We have a simple system that we're going to follow to make sure that we give you what you need to keep going.
Yeah.
So that they have confidence in us. And in our desire to help them. Yeah. That's a great point, Debbie. And when I go to the home office, those are the kinds of things that we're going to be talking about. Like, how do we train all of, how do we all train ourselves to come up with those word choices that are comforting and helpful and move people forward. So,
yeah.
All right. Well, I kept you all way too long, but this was such a great conversation. I so appreciate you all paying attention to it. And I hope it was really helpful. It's been a great 4 weeks. I have loved every minute with you all. And I can't wait to do it again. I can't wait to see your successes. 2020 is the breakout year for Touchstone Crystal. These kinds of things are part of how it's going to happen. And starting next Monday night, we'll be doing our regular 7:30 call. Every Monday night, we do a 7:30 call that's a business opportunity call. You can send anybody to those calls. Everybody who's curious about the business, say, hey, we do something every single week just for people who are kicking the tires. Why don't you hop on at 7:30 and just listen? It might not be for you at all, but you never know. It's a chance for you to find out. 8 o'clock, I do call number 1 is what I do, so they know how to get started. Because I want them to know this is what you do when you start Touchstone Crystal. And then at 8:30, until we start this series again, we're going to do hot topics. So we'll do a training topic next week and the week after that of some sort. Let's see. If you have a suggestion, let me know what you want to hear about. Alrighty. Well, thank you. Love you all. I can't wait to see what happens in your businesses. Y'all take care.
Thank you, Betsy.
Have a good night.
Thank you, Lori.
Thank you.
You're
welcome.
Take care.
Bye.
Thank you.